The garage smelled like motor oil and broken dreams. I wiped my hands on an old rag, the kind that used to be white about 10 years ago, and listened to the laughter drifting from our kitchen window. My wife Jennifer and our daughter Emma were having one of their girl talks, the kind that usually involved mocking my choice in television shows or my ancient Mustang. "You know, Mom," Emma's voice carried clearly through the November air, "Dad's been so happy lately. It's almost sad how clueless he is about everything." Jennifer's laugh was sharp, like broken glass. "Oh, honey, if only he knew what was really going on. But ignorance is bliss, right?" I froze with my wrench halfway to the carburetor. 22 years of marriage, and I thought I knew that laugh. Apparently I was wrong about a lot of things. My name is Jack Morrison, and until that moment, I believed I was living a decent life. Maintenance supervisor at the old textile mill, married to a successful marketing executive, father to a college sophomore who only came home when she needed money. We lived in a restored Victorian in Millbrook Falls, one of those New England towns that peaked sometime around 1962 and had been sliding downhill ever since. The downtown was a graveyard of boarded-up shops with a few trendy coffee places trying to breathe life into the corpse. Jennifer worked at Pinnacle Marketing, the only firm in town that actually made money, helping local businesses pretend they were thriving. She was good at creating illusions. I should have paid more attention to that particular skill. The next morning, Jennifer rushed through her usual routine. Designer yoga clothes, perfectly styled blonde hair, the kind of makeup that looked natural but probably cost more than my weekly paycheck. She grabbed her gym bag and kissed my cheek, a perfunctory peck that felt like a business transaction. "Working late tonight," she said, already heading for the door. "Don't wait up." "Sure thing," I replied, watching her BMW disappear down Maple Street. Something felt off. Jennifer had been working late a lot recently. Her phone was constantly buzzing with messages she'd quickly hide. She'd started going to yoga classes I'd never heard of and hanging out with friends whose names changed every week. Call it intuition or stupidity, but I decided to do something I'd never done in over 2 decades of marriage. I went looking for answers. Jennifer's home office was usually off-limits, her sacred space filled with marketing awards and motivational posters about synergy and disruption. I felt like an intruder going through her desk, but the feeling passed quickly when I found what I was looking for. Hidden in her gym bag was a second phone, not her usual iPhone with the bedazzled case, but a cheap Android that looked like something a teenager would buy with birthday money. My hands shook as I powered it on. The messages made my stomach turn, not because they were explicit, though they were, but because of how calculated they felt. This wasn't some passionate affair. This was Jennifer treating infidelity like another marketing campaign, complete with scheduling and strategic planning. L was apparently her lover's initial. The messages revealed meetups, hotel reservations, and something that made me sit down hard on her office chair. Jennifer was pregnant. The calendar app showed doctor appointments, prenatal vitamin reminders, and a due date that made my head spin with calculations. Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. We'd been trying to have another child for 3 years. Jennifer claimed we were both having fertility issues, insisted we keep trying naturally instead of seeing specialists. Now I understood why she'd been so adamant about avoiding medical intervention. The last message thread was the worst. Jennifer and Elle discussing how to handle the situation with me. They'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. The pregnancy was supposed to be their ticket to a new life together, with Jennifer getting half of everything I'd worked for, plus child support for a kid that wasn't even mine. I sat in that office for an hour, reading through months of deception. Jennifer wasn't just cheating on me. She was orchestrating the complete destruction of my life, and she was enjoying every minute of it. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. "Yoga class running long. Don't wait up. Love you. Love. Right. I looked around the office, at the awards and certificates, at the family photos where Jennifer's smile looked genuine. Had any of it been real? Or had I been living with a stranger for 22 years? The rational part of my brain said I should call a lawyer, file for divorce, try to salvage what I could from the wreckage. But rationality had never been my strong suit. I was a maintenance guy who fixed things when they broke. And my marriage wasn't just broken, it was sabotaged. Jennifer wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that I'd grown up in a different neighborhood than her, where games had consequences. The next few days passed in a strange haze of normalcy. Jennifer continued her routine of fake smiles and fabricated schedules while I played the role of the oblivious husband. But every spare moment, I was gathering intelligence. My first stop was Ray's Tavern, the kind of dive bar that survived in Millbrook Falls because it served cheap drinks and didn't ask questions. Ray Kowalski had been my best friend since high school, back when we both thought we'd escape this town. He'd made it as far as the state police before a bullet in the knee sent him back home to run his father's bar. "You look like someone stole your lunch money," Ray said, sliding a beer across the scarred wooden bar. The place was nearly empty at 3 p.m, just me and a couple of regulars who treated drinking like a full-time job. "Worse," I said. "Someone stole my whole life." Ray had cop instincts that 20 years of serving drinks hadn't dulled. He listened without interrupting as I laid out the whole story. The hidden phone, the messages, the pregnancy that couldn't be mine. "So, what's your play?" he asked when I finished. "I don't know yet. Part of me wants to confront her, get it all out in the open." Ray shook his head. "Bad move. She's been planning this for months. You confront her now, she'll have some story ready, make you look like the paranoid husband. You need leverage." "What kind of leverage?" "The kind that comes from knowing more about her business than she thinks you do." Ray was right. If Jennifer wanted to play chess, I needed to learn the rules. That meant surveillance, research, and patience. 3 things that didn't come naturally to a guy who preferred fixing problems with his hands. I started by following Jennifer's car after work. Her first stop wasn't yoga class or a late meeting. It was a trendy apartment complex on the other side of town, the kind of place that advertised luxury living but looked like a fancy motel. I parked across the street and waited. 20 minutes later, Jennifer emerged from the building with a man I recognized from her office Christmas parties, Luke Davidson, the creative director at Pinnacle Marketing. Mid-30s, perfectly styled hair, the kind of guy who wore expensive jeans and called everyone buddy. They walked to his car, a red sports car that screamed midlife crisis, and drove to Antonelli's, the fanciest restaurant in Millbrook Falls. I followed at a distance, watching them hold hands across the table like teenagers. The sight should have made me angry, but instead I felt oddly detached, like I was watching a movie about someone else's life. Maybe this was what shock felt like, or maybe I was finally seeing clearly for the first time in years. I took photos with my phone, not because I needed evidence of the affair, but because I wanted documentation of their arrogance. They weren't even trying to hide anymore. Probably figured I was too stupid to notice. The next morning, I did something I'd never done before. I called in sick to work and spent the day researching Luke Davidson. Social media made it easy. The guy documented his entire life online, from his morning smoothies to his weekend hiking trips. What I found was interesting. Luke had recently broken up with his longtime girlfriend, Amanda Price. The breakup looked messy based on the social media evidence. Amanda had posted several cryptic messages about liars and cheaters before apparently blocking Luke from all her accounts. Amanda worked at a boutique downtown, the kind of place that sold overpriced clothes to women who wanted to feel sophisticated. I'd never set foot in a store like that, but desperate times called for desperate measures. The boutique was exactly what I expected. White walls, minimalist displays, and price tags that made my eyes water. Amanda was helping a customer when I walked in, a petite brunette who looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. I pretended to browse while waiting for the customer to leave. When we were alone, Amanda approached with the kind of forced smile retail workers perfected. "Can I help you find something?" she asked. "Actually, I was hoping to talk to you about Luke Davidson." The smile vanished. "Are you a friend of his?" "Not exactly. I'm married to his current girlfriend." Amanda's expression shifted from suspicion to something that looked like sympathy, mixed with anger. "Oh, you're Jennifer's husband." The fact that she knew Jennifer's name told me everything I needed to know. "Look," Amanda said, glancing around the empty store, "I probably shouldn't be talking to you about this. I understand, but I think we might be able to help each other." Amanda studied my face for a long moment, then flipped the store sign to "back in 15 minutes" and locked the door. "Luke's a liar and a manipulator," she said without preamble. "We were together for 3 years. I thought we were going to get married. Then your wife showed up." "How long has this been going on?" "At least 8 months that I know of. Maybe longer. Luke started working late, canceling plans, being secretive about his phone. Classic cheater behavior. I hired a private investigator." Amanda pulled out her phone and showed me photos that made my stomach clench. Jennifer and Luke at hotels, restaurants, even at what looked like a doctor's office. "The PI followed them for weeks," Amanda continued. "Your wife isn't just having an affair. She's planning to leave you and take everything she can get." "What do you mean?" "Luke's been bragging to his friends about his exit strategy. He thinks Jennifer's going to divorce you, take half your assets, and they'll start fresh with the baby." The baby. I'd almost forgotten about that particular twist. "There's something else," Amanda said. "Luke's been having money problems. His car, his apartment, his whole lifestyle is financed with credit cards and loans. He needs Jennifer's money as much as she wants his attention." I thanked Amanda and left the boutique with my head spinning. This wasn't just an affair. It was a conspiracy, a carefully planned destruction of my life by two people who saw me as nothing more than an obstacle to their happiness. That evening, Jennifer came home with takeout from our favorite Chinese restaurant, acting like the loving wife she'd never actually been. "How was your day?" she asked, serving lo mein onto plates like we were a normal family. "Quiet," I said. "Fixed the Patterson account's heating system. Nothing exciting." "That's nice, honey." She wasn't really listening, too busy texting on her phone. I watched her fingers fly across the screen, probably making plans with Luke, and felt something shift inside me. The hurt was still there, but it was being replaced by something colder and more focused. Jennifer wanted to destroy my life? Fine. But she was about to learn that I wasn't the pushover she thought I was. The old boxing gym in the basement of St. Mary's Church hadn't changed much since I was 17. Same cracked mirrors, same heavy bags held together with duct tape, same smell of sweat and determination. I'd spent countless hours here as a kid, learning that sometimes the best defense was a good offense. Tommy Ricci, my old trainer, was still there at 73, still barking instructions at kids who thought they were tougher than they were. He looked up when I walked in, his weathered face breaking into a grin. "Jack Morrison, haven't seen you in here for what, 10 years? Something like that. Mind if I work the bags for a while?" "Course not. But you look like a man with more than fitness on his mind." Tommy had always been perceptive. I wrapped my hands and started working the heavy bag, letting the rhythm clear my head. After 20 minutes, I felt more centered than I had in days. "Woman troubles?" Tommy asked, holding the bag steady. "You could say that. My advice? Don't do anything stupid. But if you're going to do something stupid anyway, make sure you win." I spent the next week planning. Jennifer had been strategic about destroying my life, so I needed to be strategic about my response. But where she was subtle and long-term, I was going to be direct and immediate. My first target was Luke's precious sports car. He parked it in the same spot every day outside Pinnacle Marketing, probably so everyone could admire his taste in overpriced transportation. I waited until after midnight, then took a walk through downtown with a small toolkit. Nothing dramatic, just a few minor adjustments: loosened lug nuts, sugar in the gas tank, and a small hole in one tire that would cause a slow leak. The kind of problems that would be expensive and inconvenient, but not dangerous. The next morning, I made coffee and waited for Jennifer to leave for work. She kissed my cheek with the same fake affection as always. "Have a good day, honey," she said. "You too, sweetheart." An hour later, my phone rang. Jennifer's voice was tight with stress. "Jack, I'm going to be late tonight. Luke's car broke down, and I need to help him deal with the mechanic." "That's terrible," I said, injecting just the right amount of sympathy into my voice. "These foreign cars can be so unreliable. It's really inconvenient timing. I'm sure you'll figure it out. You're so good at solving problems." After she hung up, I allowed myself a small smile. Round one to me. But car trouble was just the opening move. I needed something bigger, something that would shake Jennifer's confidence and make her realize she wasn't as smart as she thought. The opportunity came 3 days later. Jennifer's company was hosting their annual client appreciation dinner at the Millbrook Country Club, the kind of stuffy event where local business owners pretended to enjoy each other's company while networking aggressively. Jennifer had been talking about the dinner for weeks, describing it as a crucial opportunity for her career. Luke would be there too, of course, probably playing the role of the dedicated creative director while secretly planning his future with my wife. I'd never attended one of these dinners before. Jennifer always said they were boring work events, nothing I'd enjoy. But this year, I decided to surprise her. The country club was exactly what I expected. Overpriced everything, waiters who looked down on anyone without a trust fund, and conversations about golf handicaps and stock portfolios. I felt like an imposter in my one good suit, but I'd learned to navigate hostile territory during my years in maintenance. Jennifer was holding court near the bar, laughing with a group of clients while Luke hovered nearby like a devoted assistant. She looked stunning in a black dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary. For a moment, I remembered why I'd fallen in love with her all those years ago. Then I remembered the hidden phone and the pregnancy that wasn't mine. I approached the group with a smile, playing the role of the supportive husband. "Jennifer, there you are. Sorry I'm late." The look of shock on her face was worth the price of admission. Luke went pale, like he'd seen a ghost. "Jack," Jennifer said, recovering quickly. "What are you doing here?" "I wanted to surprise you. Ray's watching the bar tonight, so I thought I'd come support my beautiful wife." The group smiled politely, probably wondering why the maintenance guy was crashing their party. Jennifer introduced me around, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. "This is my husband, Jack. He runs maintenance at the old mill." "Actually," I said, "I'm the supervisor. Been there 15 years now. Jennifer's always so modest about my accomplishments." Luke excused himself and headed for the restroom. I followed a minute later. The men's room was empty except for us. Luke was splashing water on his face, trying to compose himself. "Enjoying the party?" I asked, stepping up to the next sink. "It's fine," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Jennifer looks great tonight. Pregnancy suits her." Luke's hands froze on the paper towel. "What?" "The pregnancy. She's glowing, don't you think? Of course, we've been trying for so long, I was starting to think it would never happen." I watched Luke's reflection in the mirror, saw the confusion and fear in his eyes. He was wondering how much I knew, whether Jennifer had told me about the baby. "Congratulations," he said finally. "Thanks. It's going to change everything, you know? Our whole life together. Jennifer and I have been talking about making some big changes, really focusing on our family." Luke crumpled the paper towel in his fist. "That's great. I'm thinking of asking for a transfer to the day shift, spend more time at home, be more involved in Jennifer's life, maybe even start picking her up from work, taking her to appointments, really be there for every step of this journey. The threat was subtle, but clear. Luke nodded and practically ran from the restroom. I returned to the party and spent the next hour playing the devoted husband, telling anyone who'd listen how excited I was about the baby. Jennifer's smile grew more strained with each conversation. During the drive home, she was unusually quiet. "That was a surprise," she said finally. "I thought you'd be happy to see me." "I was. It's just, you don't usually enjoy those kinds of events." "Maybe I'm changing, becoming more involved in your world." Jennifer stared out the window at the dark streets of Millbrook Falls. "Maybe you are." That night, I lay awake listening to Jennifer toss and turn beside me. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages she didn't dare check with me so close. I was getting under her skin, disrupting her carefully laid plans. But this was just the beginning. Jennifer had spent months orchestrating my humiliation. Now, it was time for her to experience the same feeling. The beauty of small-town life is that everyone knows everyone else's business. In Millbrook Falls, gossip traveled faster than the internet, and reputation was everything. Jennifer had built her career on being the polished professional, the woman who had it all together. That image was about to become a liability. My next move required patience and precision. I started by becoming the model husband, the kind of attentive spouse that would make other women jealous. I brought Jennifer flowers at work, took her lunch on random afternoons, and made sure everyone saw how devoted I was. "You're being weird," Emma said during one of her rare visits home. She was majoring in communications at the state university, which apparently qualified her to analyze everyone's behavior. "How am I being weird?" "All this romantic stuff with Mom. You're not usually the flowers and surprise lunch type." "Maybe I'm appreciating what I have." Emma rolled her eyes. "You're 45, Dad. Midlife crisis much?" If only she knew how right she was, just not in the way she thought. The increased attention was driving Jennifer crazy. She couldn't meet Luke without risking being seen, couldn't make plans without me asking to be included. I was disrupting their entire system. "We should take a vacation," I announced over dinner one evening. "Just the two of us. Maybe somewhere tropical, really reconnect." Jennifer nearly choked on her wine. "That sounds lovely, but work is so busy right now." "I'm sure they can spare you for a week. You work so hard you deserve a break." "Maybe in a few months." "Why wait? Life's short. We should enjoy it while we can." The conversation continued like this, me pushing for togetherness while Jennifer made excuses. Anyone watching would think I was the romantic husband trying to rekindle our marriage, while she was the workaholic wife who couldn't make time for love. The pressure was building, and I could see it in Jennifer's face. She looked tired, stressed, constantly checking her phone for messages she couldn't answer in front of me. Luke was probably going crazy too, wondering why his girlfriend had suddenly become unavailable. My strategy got a boost from an unexpected source. Amanda, Luke's ex-girlfriend, called me at work. "I have something you might find interesting," she said. We met at a coffee shop on the edge of town, far from Jennifer's usual haunts. Amanda looked better than the last time I'd seen her, like she was finally moving on from Luke. "I've been thinking about our conversation," she said, sliding a manila envelope across the table. "Luke left some things at my apartment. I was going to throw them away, but then I thought you might want to see them first." Inside the envelope were bank statements, credit card bills, and loan documents. Luke was in serious financial trouble, worse than Amanda had originally thought. His car payments were 3 months behind, his credit cards were maxed out, and he owed money to people who probably didn't accept payment plans. "He's desperate," Amanda said. "That's why he's so focused on Jennifer. He needs her money to save himself." The documents painted a clear picture. Luke wasn't just having an affair with my wife. He was planning to use her as his personal bailout plan. The pregnancy was probably his idea, a way to guarantee long-term financial support. There's something else, Amanda continued. Luke's been bragging to his friends about having a sure thing. He thinks Jennifer's going to leave you and support him while he starts his own agency. His own agency? He wants to leave Pinnacle and start competing with them, using Jennifer's client contacts and industry knowledge. The betrayal kept getting deeper. Jennifer wasn't just planning to leave me. She was planning to destroy her own company in the process, taking their clients and trade secrets to help Luke build his empire. I thanked Amanda and drove home with my head spinning. Jennifer was already there, cooking dinner like the perfect wife she'd never actually been. "How was your day?" she asked, not looking up from the stove. "Interesting. I ran into Mike Patterson downtown. He mentioned that Pinnacle might be losing some big accounts soon." Jennifer's hand froze on the wooden spoon. "What did he say exactly?" "Something about companies looking for fresh creative talent, new agencies with better ideas." "Mike doesn't know what he's talking about." "Probably not. But it got me thinking about job security, you know? Maybe I should look into other opportunities too. Branch out, try something new." "You love your job at the mill." "I love providing for my family. If there are better opportunities elsewhere, maybe I should explore them." Jennifer turned to face me, her expression carefully neutral. "What kind of opportunities?" "I don't know yet. Maybe something in the city. Fresh start, new challenges." The idea of me becoming more ambitious clearly terrified her. Her whole plan depended on me being the predictable, stay-at-home husband while she built her new life with Luke. That night, I made my boldest move yet. While Jennifer was in the shower, I used her laptop to send an email to her boss, Richard Blackwood, from her company account. The message was simple. "Richard, I need to discuss some concerns about client confidentiality and competitive practices. Can we meet privately tomorrow? This is sensitive and urgent. Jennifer." I deleted the email from her sent folder, but left it in Blackwood's inbox. By morning, he'd be wondering what Jennifer was worried about, and she'd have no idea why he was asking questions. The next evening, Jennifer came home looking shaken. "Everything okay?" I asked, playing the concerned husband. "Just work stress. Richard's been asking strange questions about client security and company policies." "That sounds serious." "It's probably nothing, just corporate paranoia." But I could see the worry in her eyes. Jennifer was starting to realize that her carefully controlled world was developing cracks, and she had no idea where they were coming from. The pressure was working. Jennifer was off balance, paranoid, constantly looking over her shoulder. Luke was probably getting desperate too, watching his meal tickets slip away while his debts piled up. They wanted to play games with my life? Fine. But they were about to learn that I'd been playing games a lot longer than they had, and I was much better at it than they thought. Everything came to a head on a cold Thursday in December. I was working late at the mill, trying to fix a heating system that had been giving us trouble for weeks, when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Jennifer's number, but the voice on the other end wasn't hers. "Is this Jack Morrison?" The woman sounded nervous, maybe scared. "Yes." "Who is this?" "My name is Carol Stevens. I'm Jennifer's sister." I almost dropped the phone. Jennifer had mentioned Carol exactly twice in 22 years of marriage, both times to explain why they didn't speak anymore. Something about family drama and old resentments. "I know this is strange," Carol continued, "but I need to talk to you. It's about Jennifer and what she's planning." We agreed to meet at Ray's Tavern in an hour. I finished up at the mill and drove through downtown, my mind racing with possibilities. Why would Jennifer's estranged sister contact me now? Carol was waiting in a corner booth, nursing a glass of wine and checking her phone nervously. She looked like Jennifer might have looked if life had been less kind to her. Same bone structure, same blonde hair, but worn down by disappointment and bad choices. "Thank you for coming," she said as I sat down. "I wasn't sure you'd want to meet me." "Jennifer doesn't talk about you much." "I'm sure she doesn't. We haven't spoken in 5 years, not since our mother's funeral. Ray brought me a beer and retreated to give us privacy. The bar was nearly empty, just a couple of regulars watching a basketball game on the ancient television. "Why did you call me?" I asked. Carol took a deep breath. "Because I know what Jennifer's doing to you, and I can't let it happen without warning you." "What do you know?" "Everything. The affair, the pregnancy, the plan to take you for everything you're worth." Carol's voice was bitter. "Jennifer always gets what she wants, no matter who she hurts." "How do you know about any of this?" "Because she called me 3 weeks ago, first time in 5 years, and it wasn't to apologize or make peace. She wanted something." Carol pulled out her phone and played a voicemail. Jennifer's voice was crisp and businesslike, nothing like the warm tone she used with me. "Carol, it's Jennifer. I know we haven't talked, but I need a favor. I'm getting divorced and I need character witnesses, people who can testify about Jack's behavior. I know you never liked him. Call me back." The message hit me like a physical blow. Jennifer was already building her case, recruiting allies for a war I didn't even know we were fighting. "I didn't call her back," Carol said. "But I started thinking about you, about how she used to talk about you when we still spoke." "What did she say?" "That you were convenient. That you provided stability while she built her career. She never loved you, Jack. You were just useful." The words should have hurt more than they did, but I was past the point of being surprised by Jennifer's cruelty. "There's more," Carol continued. "Jennifer's been planning this for over a year. The affair with Luke is just part of it. She's been hiding money, moving assets, setting up accounts you don't know about." Carol handed me a folder filled with bank statements and legal documents. She made copies of everything and stored them at my ex-husband's house. He gave them to me when Jennifer called looking for character witnesses. The documents were damning. Jennifer had been systematically draining our joint accounts, transferring money to accounts in her name only. She'd taken out a second mortgage on our house without my knowledge, using forged signatures on the paperwork. "The pregnancy isn't Luke's either," Carol said quietly. I looked up from the papers. "What?" "Jennifer can't have children. She had her tubes tied 6 years ago, right after Emma graduated high school. She never told you." The room seemed to spin around me. "Then whose baby is it?" "There is no baby. The whole pregnancy is fake. Jennifer's been using it to manipulate both you and Luke, make you think you're finally getting the child you wanted while convincing him he's going to be a father." I stared at Carol, trying to process what she was telling me. "That's impossible. I saw the pregnancy test, the doctor appointments. All fake. Jennifer's always been good at creating elaborate lies. Remember when we were kids and she convinced our parents that I was the one who broke Mom's vase? She had evidence, witnesses, a whole story. I got grounded for 2 weeks for something she did." The pieces were falling into place. Jennifer's refusal to see fertility specialists, her insistence on keeping the pregnancy private until the second trimester, her careful control of all medical information. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. Carol's expression hardened. "Because Jennifer destroyed my marriage too. She convinced my ex-husband that I was cheating on him, provided fake evidence, turned him against me. I lost everything because of her lies." "Why would she do that?" "Because I knew too much about her real nature. Jennifer can't stand having people around who see through her act." I sat back in the booth, overwhelmed by the scope of Jennifer's deception. This wasn't just an affair or a midlife crisis. This was a calculated destruction of multiple lives by someone who viewed other people as obstacles to her happiness. "What do you want me to do with this information?" I asked. "Whatever you think is right. But Jack, you need to understand something. Jennifer isn't going to stop with just divorcing you. She's going to try to destroy your reputation, your relationships, maybe even your job. That's how she operates." Carol finished her wine and stood up. "I've done what I came to do. The rest is up to you." After she left, I sat in the bar for another hour, staring at the documents and trying to figure out my next move. Jennifer had declared war on my life, using weapons I hadn't even known existed. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated me, assumed I was too stupid or too passive to fight back. Jennifer thought she was playing chess while I was playing checkers. She was about to learn how wrong she was. The fake pregnancy changed everything. It wasn't just evidence of Jennifer's deception. It was proof of her willingness to manipulate the deepest emotions of the people who trusted her. She'd been watching me hope for another child while knowing it was all a lie. That level of cruelty required a response that matched its scope. I drove home through the empty streets of Millbrook Falls, past the boarded-up shops and flickering streetlights, past the mill where I'd spent 15 years building a life that was apparently just an illusion. Jennifer was asleep when I got home, or pretending to be. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, watching her breathe, and felt nothing but cold determination. She wanted to play games with people's lives? Fine. But the game was about to change, and she wasn't going to like the new rules. The annual Pinnacle Marketing holiday party was scheduled for Saturday night at the Millbrook Country Club. Jennifer had been talking about it for weeks, describing it as the social event of the season. All the important clients would be there, along with the company's staff and their spouses. It was the perfect venue for what I had planned. I spent Friday preparing, making phone calls, and setting up meetings. Amanda agreed to help, motivated by her own desire to see Luke face consequences for his behavior. Ray offered to provide backup if things went wrong. Even Carol called to wish me luck. "Are you sure about this?" Ray asked as we went over the plan one final time. "Once you pull this trigger, there's no going back." "There was no going back the moment Jennifer decided to destroy my life," I replied. "At least this way, I'm choosing how it ends." Saturday evening arrived with a light snow that made Millbrook Falls look almost picturesque. Jennifer spent 2 hours getting ready, transforming herself into the polished executive who'd charmed clients and colleagues for years. "You look beautiful," I said, and meant it. Jennifer was stunning when she wanted to be, which made her betrayal even more painful. "Thank you. Are you sure you want to come tonight? These parties can be pretty boring." "I wouldn't miss it. Besides, I want to meet more of your colleagues." The country club was decorated for the holidays, all twinkling lights and elegant arrangements. Jennifer worked the room like the professional she was, introducing me to clients and making small talk about business trends and market opportunities. Luke was there too, playing his role perfectly. He shook my hand with just the right amount of firmness, complimented Jennifer's dress with appropriate subtlety, and made conversation about sports and weather. If I hadn't known the truth, I might have been impressed by their acting skills. The evening progressed normally for the first hour. Cocktails, networking, the usual corporate social rituals. I played my part too, the supportive husband who was proud of his successful wife. Then Amanda arrived. She'd dressed for the occasion, elegant and confident in a way that made several heads turn. Luke's face went pale when he saw her, but he recovered quickly and continued his conversation with a potential client. "Excuse me," Amanda said, approaching our group with a bright smile. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Amanda Price." Jennifer's expression didn't change, but I caught the slight tightening around her eyes. She knew exactly who Amanda was. "Amanda," Luke said, his voice carefully controlled. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here with a friend," Amanda replied, gesturing toward me. "Jack invited me. We've become quite close lately." The silence that followed was electric. Jennifer looked between Amanda and me, trying to figure out what was happening. "How do you two know each other?" Jennifer asked, her professional smile still in place. "We have a mutual interest," I said. "Amanda's been very helpful with some research I've been doing." Luke excused himself and headed for the bar. Amanda followed, leaving Jennifer and me alone with a group of confused clients. "What kind of research?" Jennifer asked quietly. "The kind that reveals interesting information about people's true nature." Before Jennifer could respond, Richard Blackwood approached our group. Pinnacle's CEO was a thin, intense man who treated social events like business meetings. "Jennifer, I need to speak with you privately," he said. "There are some issues we need to discuss. Can it wait until Monday?" "I'm afraid not." Jennifer excused herself and followed Blackwood to a quiet corner of the room. I watched their conversation from across the room, saw Jennifer's face change from confusion to alarm to barely controlled panic. Blackwood was asking about the email I'd sent from her account, about client confidentiality and competitive practices. He'd probably spent the week investigating, looking into Jennifer's activities and discovering some uncomfortable truths. While they talked, I made my way to the bar where Luke was nursing a whiskey and trying to avoid Amanda. "Enjoying the party?" I asked, ordering a beer. "It's fine," Luke replied, not meeting my eyes. "Jennifer looks stressed. Work troubles, I think. She'll be fine. Jennifer always lands on her feet." "Does she? That's good to know, especially with the baby coming and all." Luke's hand tightened on his glass. "Right. The baby. You know, it's funny. Jennifer and I tried for so long to have another child. Years of disappointment, medical tests, fertility treatments. Then suddenly, she's pregnant. Life's full of surprises." "Yeah, surprising. Of course, the timing is interesting. Right when she's having all these work problems, dealing with questions about client confidentiality and business ethics." Luke looked at me directly for the first time. "What are you talking about?" "Haven't you heard? Blackwood's been investigating some irregularities at the company. Something about employees sharing confidential information with outside parties." The color drained from Luke's face. "That's impossible." "Is it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like someone's been planning to steal clients and start a competing agency." Luke set down his glass with shaking hands. "I don't know what you think you know, but I know everything, Luke. The affair, the fake pregnancy, the financial planning, the business scheme, all of it." Luke stared at me in shock, finally understanding that his carefully constructed plan was falling apart. "Jennifer told you?" "Jennifer didn't tell me anything, but other people did. People who were tired of being manipulated and used." Across the room, Jennifer's conversation with Blackwood was becoming more heated. Other guests were starting to notice, whispering among themselves about the drama unfolding at the holiday party. "What do you want?" Luke asked. "I want you to understand something. Jennifer isn't the answer to your problems. She's not going to save you from your debts or help you build your dream agency. She's not even pregnant." Luke's confusion was genuine. "What do you mean?" "The pregnancy is fake, Luke. Jennifer can't have children. She had surgery years ago. She's been lying to both of us." The revelation hit Luke like a physical blow. He gripped the bar to steady himself, his face cycling through disbelief, anger, and finally understanding. She lied about the baby? She lied about everything. The pregnancy was just a tool to manipulate us both. Make me think I was finally getting the child I wanted while convincing you that you had a future together. Luke looked across the room at Jennifer, who was now in what appeared to be a heated argument with Blackwood. Other executives were joining the conversation, their faces serious and concerned. "What happens now?" Luke asked. "Now you decide what kind of man you want to be. You can keep playing Jennifer's game and hope it works out, or you can start making better choices." Luke finished his whiskey and walked away without another word. I watched him leave the country club, probably to think about how completely he'd been manipulated. Jennifer's conversation with Blackwood was wrapping up. She was trying to maintain her composure, but I could see the cracks in her facade. When she returned to my side, her smile was strained. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Just some confusion about company policies, nothing that can't be resolved." "That's good. I'd hate for work problems to affect our family life." Jennifer's phone buzzed with a text message. She glanced at it, and her face went pale. "I need to step outside for a moment," she said. Of course. Take your time. I followed at a distance and watched through the window as Jennifer made a frantic phone call in the parking lot. She was probably trying to reach Luke, wondering why he'd left the party so suddenly. When she came back inside, her composure was completely gone. The polished executive had been replaced by a woman who was finally realizing that her carefully constructed world was collapsing. "Jack, I think we should go home," she said. "Are you sure? The party's just getting started." "I have a headache. Please." We drove home in silence, Jennifer staring out the window while I focused on the snowy roads. When we reached our house, she went straight to her office and closed the door. I could hear her making phone calls, her voice rising with each conversation. She was trying to manage the crisis, but there were too many fires burning at once. The fake pregnancy, the business investigation, Luke's sudden disappearance, Amanda's unexpected appearance, all the lies were converging at the same time. I sat in the living room and waited. Jennifer had spent months orchestrating my downfall, and now it was her turn to experience the feeling of losing control. The game was almost over, and for the first time in a long time, I was winning. The confrontation I'd been expecting came the next morning. Jennifer emerged from her office looking like she hadn't slept, her perfect facade finally cracking under the weight of her collapsing schemes. "We need to talk," she said, her voice hoarse from hours of desperate phone calls. "Of course. Coffee?" "Jack, stop. Just stop with the act." I poured myself a cup and sat at the kitchen table. "What act?" "You know, about Luke, about everything." "What about Luke?" Jennifer slammed her hand on the counter. "He told me what you said at the party, about the pregnancy, about the business investigation. How long have you known?" "Known what, Jennifer?" "Don't play games with me." "Games?" I laughed, a sound with no humor in it. "You want to talk about games? Let's talk about the game where you pretend to be pregnant with my child while planning to steal half my assets. Or the game where you fake fertility problems for 3 years while secretly making sure you can't get pregnant. Or my personal favorite, the game where you recruit your estranged sister to lie about my character in divorce court." Jennifer stared at me in shock. "Carol told you." "Carol told me everything, the fake pregnancy, the hidden accounts, the forged mortgage documents, all of it." Jennifer sat down heavily, her carefully constructed world finally collapsing completely. "Why?" I asked. 22 years of marriage, and I still don't understand why you hate me so much." "I don't hate you," she said quietly. I wanted something different." "So, you decided to destroy my life instead of just asking for a divorce?" "It wasn't supposed to be like this. Luke and we were going to start fresh, build something together. With my money and your company's clients." Jennifer nodded, tears finally starting to fall. "I know how it sounds. It sounds like fraud. Multiple kinds of fraud, actually. What are you going to do?" I finished my coffee and looked at the woman I'd been married to for over 2 decades. She looked smaller now, diminished by the exposure of her true nature. "I'm going to divorce you," I said. "Cleanly, quietly, with full documentation of your financial manipulation and adultery. You're going to agree to a fair settlement that doesn't leave me bankrupt, and you're going to do it without fighting." "And if I don't?" "Then I turn all of Carol's evidence over to the district attorney and let them decide whether your forgery and financial fraud warrant criminal charges." Jennifer was quiet for a long time, processing her limited options. "What about Luke?" "Luke's not my problem anymore, but I suspect he's going to have some difficult conversations with his creditors when he realizes his meal ticket just disappeared." "And Amanda?" "Amanda gets to watch the man who used her face the consequences of his choices. She's earned that satisfaction." Jennifer wiped her eyes and looked around our kitchen, probably seeing it clearly for the first time in years. "I never meant for it to go this far," she said. "Yes, you did. You planned every detail, Jennifer. The only thing you didn't plan for was getting caught." 6 months later, Our divorce was finalized. Jennifer kept her job at Pinnacle, though her reputation never fully recovered from the holiday party incident and Blackwood's investigation. Luke left town after his financial situation became untenable, leaving behind a trail of unpaid debts and broken promises. I kept the house and most of our assets, thanks to Carol's evidence of Jennifer's financial manipulation. Emma was angry at first, but eventually came to understand that her mother's actions had consequences. Amanda started dating a teacher from the local high school, someone who appreciated her honesty and loyalty. We remained friends, bonded by our shared experience of being manipulated by people we'd trusted. Ray still runs his tavern, still offers advice to anyone who needs it. He says I handled the situation better than most people would have, but I'm not sure that's true. I just did what I had to do to survive. Jennifer moved to a smaller apartment downtown, closer to her office. We don't speak unless it's absolutely necessary, usually about Emma or legal matters. Sometimes I see her at the grocery store or around town, and she looks like a different person. Older, sadder, diminished by the weight of her choices. I could almost feel sorry for her if I tried hard enough, but I don't try. The truth is, Jennifer was right about one thing. I am happier now. Not because I got revenge, but because I'm finally living an honest life. No more pretending, no more being manipulated, no more walking on eggshells around someone who viewed my happiness as an obstacle to her ambitions. I'm 46 years old, divorced, and starting over in a town that knows all my business. But for the first time in years, I'm exactly where I want to be. And that's a kind of victory that Jennifer, with all her schemes and manipulations, never understood how to achieve. Some games are worth winning, even when the prize is just the right to stop playing.